Sound design.
So how do you create a target trace in Smaart? Why would you want to create a target trace? What is a target trace? Okay, so in the last couple of videos, we've been talking about expectation, right? Before we take any kind of measurement, we want to have an idea in our mind of what do we need from that measurement? What do we expect it to look like? So that we don't just have like a bunch of data coming at our face and we don't really know what to do with it and we don't have anything to compare it to, right? So the reason we want to target trace is that we want to have some sort of goal for our measurement, or some goal for our EQ actions. So we don't want to just come in and look at our magnitude trace and start just guessing. For those of you who have a flat target trace, you can just use the 0 dB line, but most people want some kind of a boost in the low end and some kind of an attenuation in the high end. Just through attending other people's trainings, working with other sound engineers and doing work myself, I've just discovered that that's the kind of shape that I like. That's the kind of shape that a lot of clients like and a lot of other sound engineers and system techs. It's kind of this kind of shape, right? A little bit of boost in the low end and a little bit of attenuation in the high end. Now, what kind of shape you want to draw is totally up to you, okay? And this is one of the fun parts. Now, unfortunately in Smaart, there's no target trace in the transfer function. If we head over to the spectrum view, here is a target trace. You just press the X key and it shows up. Now, if you don't see it, that's because it's up too high. Okay, so I just went to the default view. I'm pressing X over and over again. I don't see it. So I got to hit the arrow key, go way up here at the top. There we go. Now if I press the X key, I can see it. But that doesn't help me a whole lot because I really want to see it in the transfer function screen. So let's go back to transfer function, and obviously pressing the X key does nothing. Pretty easy to create one though. All we need to do is measure an EQ and draw the shape that we want in the EQ, then we can save that trace and that can be our target trace. We could even create a few different shapes for different kinds of shows, different program material, okay? So in the last video, I showed you how to set up and measure an EQ. So if you haven't watched that already, please go back and watch that. I'm already set up and ready to go, so let's turn on my measurement. Turn on the signal generator. Okay, everything's flat, good to go. Cool, so now I can open up my EQ and start to draw. So as I mentioned, most people want sort of some low frequency boost. In my case, it's usually about 10 dB. In a lot of concert or theater or circus, you're gonna see a +6, +10, +12. Maybe if you're doing an EDM show, +20, I don't know. Okay, so let's leave that at +10 because that's the way I like it. And it started a little bit too early, so I'll just take this down to 90, maybe split the difference there. And then I also mentioned that we generally want some kind of high-end reduction. So I'm gonna put in a 4 dB cut. This is where you get to have fun, okay? So if you know that although you like this kind of a boost, that you always like some kind of a cut around 200, then you can go ahead and put that in. This is totally acceptable, okay? Now we have a little bit more drastic shape. Now this is more of what I wanted. At 160, we're only up to 2 dB, okay? So you can kind of stack filters on top of each other, because again, in this particular case, all we care about is drawing a picture. So I don't care about this phase trace. I mean, I could even take this away, right? All I care about is really drawing a picture here. Create your own target trace this way, okay? Just measure an EQ, do whatever you need to do here in the controls to get the picture that you want here. If you don't know what your target trace is, then just steal mine. Start with mine. Start with this and see if this works for you. Another way that I've seen people handle this is that they will take a bunch of saved traces from previous shows where they did a whole tuning, they really liked it, and they have some traces that really represent what they feel like is a good sound, or the kind of sound that that client wants, the kind of shape of the EQ that that client expects to hear, and then they'll just import that. And then you're starting from something that you already know that works, and then you can shoot for that. That can be your target. I really like to see a really clear, solid line here. I might save this as target concert. Okay, and then as I mentioned, I might have a different one for my corporate events. And then I might save that one as target corporate. And then what I recommend, what I have done in the past, is I will then change this color. So we right click, go to info, click on color, and then just pull these all the way up. That's probably the fastest way to do it. FFFFF, that's white, apply, okay. There we go. So now I have a target trace. So later on in future videos, when I go to measure a speaker, let's reset this. Then when I get this kind of a shape, I can say, oh, okay, obviously I need to put in an EQ filter to get this boost that I want, okay? Or maybe I want this cut here and this. So now we have a target trace. That's how you create a target trace in Smaart. And then in the next video, we're gonna look at how to create a target trace in SatLive. Sound design.